Never underestimate a woman, even when she's experienced a lifetime of challenges and obstacles trying to hold her back. Maybe you know what that feels like. Maybe you've faced your own uphill battles or wondered if it's possible to break free and start again. Today's conversation is for every woman who's ever felt defined by her history and for anyone trying to turn the page and reclaim their next chapter. Your story isn't finished yet. There's always more strength, more hope, and more possibility waiting just ahead. And if you're looking for real-life proof, you'll find it in today's guest, someone who's rewritten her own story and now empowers others to do the same. I'm Sue West, and this is Flourish After 50. Today I'm joined by Heather Cameron. Heather is an Australian writer and advocate whose story is testament to courage, resilience, and the transformative power of truth. Raised on a remote outback farm in New South Wales, Heather persevered through poverty, domestic violence, and the kind of lifelong challenges that would break most women. She's transformed those experiences into fuel for change. First as the author of a best-selling autobiographical trilogy, Never Underestimate a Woman. And now as an international speaker, radio host, master coach, and founder of the Lola Lila Retreat. In 2024, she received the Global Woman of Influence Award in Singapore and continues to run a successful outback farm with her partner. You get the picture. She's a go-getter and truly thriving after 50. Heather, welcome.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you for asking me.
It's my pleasure. And Heather, you and I know each other through Alumni XX, which is an Australian network for women in business. But mostly we see each other on the screen because you live in a very different part of Australia. Tell us about where you live and what your life looks like right now.
I live literally at the back of Bourke, which is Western New South Wales. I'm 800 kilometres from Sydney. And I'm an hour from the nearest town, which is Bourke. My life's always busy because that's how I like it. Yeah. So my farm consists of, I've got Dorper sheep, goats, a few cattle, and we focus on tourism and running retreats here as well. We've got the Warrego River going through here. So it backs up for 8 kilometres. We've got a licensed weir here, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's not a deep river. It's shallow, but it's really pretty, and the sunsets over the water is gorgeous. So I love my little piece of paradise and I like to show it off to others and share it with others.
Really sounds idyllic. But life wasn't always like that for you. And your books share extraordinary challenges, domestic violence, as I said, drought, and periods of running a farm on your own. For listeners who aren't familiar with your journey, could you share a little bit about your life experiences and how you went from experiencing that sort of hardship, but then building toward the life that you have now, especially after 50?
Starting from childhood, Sue?
I think wherever you want to jump in, Heather.
Starting from childhood, growing up in a remote area, halfway between Bourke and Cobar, it really isolated in those days because we didn't have the sealed roads as much as we do now. There's still dirt roads out here, of course. And we didn't have the communication that we do now because it was all party lines with the phone. So it wasn't like you could just jump on the phone any old time and talk to a friend. And definitely didn't have internet or not even proper electricity. So certainly tough times. We used kerosene lights even. So my mum cooked with a gas stove and wood stove. So it was a tough way, but we didn't know any other way. So it was how we were raised. And yeah, just with the extremely violent father, anger problems, the help wasn't available in those days either. And women were frowned upon if they were divorcees. So my mother used to just think she had to stick it out. And with 7 children, where do you go? What do you do? So once she got the kids old enough and they all had their own lives and started to get jobs and things like that. So it was down to the last 2, my sister that's 2 years older than myself and myself, she decided to put us in the local school hostel in Cobar. So that was how she could leave. So she left the district and she moved to Sydney and started a new life. And it was tough times for me as a teenager. I was 12 when I went to the school hostel. I hadn't had a good education. So I left school at 16. I told myself that I hated reading and I'd never read a full book. And, if you told me that I was going to be an author back then, I would have laughed at you. I would have said, this is impossible. So I was married by the time I was 20, and then, really wanted to own a farm, and we were shearing up in this area. And this property was for sale, and the people we were working for said, "Hey, Lower Lila's for sale, why don't you go and have a look?" And then I stayed home and run the farm for many years then. And then I had my children. I was 37 when I had my first baby and 39 when I had my second one, and I was ready to settle down. And
It sounds like you were really living the dream life that you'd wanted for yourself, Heather, in terms of having that farm and now feeling at a place of stability to have children. But then you found a grim discovery. Can you tell me about that?
I got a grim discovery when my children were 4 and 7 years old, and discovered that the husband at the time was living a complete double life. We had a large earth moving business in the Bowen Basin in Queensland. We had 38 large pieces of machinery, $8 million debt, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I was mortified. We were in the worst drought I'd ever experienced here in 2013. I was carting water, pushing scrub. I had my little boy sitting in my lap, pushing trees over. Pushing scrub means pushing edible trees over for the cows to eat. We had a lot of cattle. Putting salt blocks out. We had animals getting bogged in the mud holes in the river. It was devastating. It was so tough. That was definitely the hardest year of my life, was going through that drought and making that grim discovery and not knowing how long it had gone on for, because he was away all the time, saying he was going to mine meetings, and they weren't. Evidently they weren't. So, after a huge, huge battle, I just developed, I think I've always had a never give up attitude. I just, really want to do the best I can with what I've got. So I just refused to give up. And I went, well, I don't want to be like my mum. I don't want to walk away from everything. I want to change the trajectory for women. Why should the women have to run when they've got the babies to look after, the family? It's not fair. It's too common. And that's now really like being a voice for women for that reason, because we don't have to run. We don't have to give up. We need to stand our ground. So after 24 court hearings in the family law court in Parramatta, I finally won, and I saved my children's home, and my kids have got to grow up here. My boy is at boarding school in Dubbo. He's 16 now, in year 10, and my daughter's at uni in Wagga Wagga. So very proud of my kiddies, and I love being a mum.
What helped you keep going during these really hard days, Heather?
My children. I was doing it for my kids. It wasn't about me anymore.
And was there a particular turning point or a moment when you first saw signs of hope or possibility?
That's a good question. Yeah, I did. Because the husband at the time was hardly ever here, then I knew that I should be able to move him out of the house while he was gone, so to speak. So I did do that. But then in saying that, he then had emailed and left phone messages saying he was coming to take the children, and no mother wants her children taken from her. So to elaborate a little bit deeper on that, I had to go into hiding, because I went to the local police and said that I was fearful of him, that, he'd held guns to people and things like that over the years. I was really afraid of him. And they weren't very helpful. They at the time just said, it's a domestic issue. Sorry, we can't help. And they turned me away. So then I went to the Cobar police station, the next town on, and I got the same response. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to do, because this man was twice my size, and there was no way I was going to be able to stop him from taking the kids and use them as bargaining tools. So then I hid my vehicle, because he reported all the vehicles as being stolen, because they were registered in his name. So the police were then looking for me. So it was really terrible times. And I borrowed one of my sister's vehicles, and I headed on to Dubbo then, and went into hiding at a caravan park. And one of my other sisters came to the rescue and bought me a wig so that I wouldn't be recognised. And she took care of the children while I went looking for help. And a lady from Inspiration House, which I believe doesn't exist anymore because it was government funded, and it's no longer funded, which is terrible. She was able to assist me and get me the right police officer, a lady that finally at the police, a female police officer, assisted me in getting an AVO so that I could feel a little bit safer. And then I went into hiding until the AVO come through at a friend's place.
Like, let's talk about the phrase at the heart of your memoirs, never underestimate a woman. What do those words mean to you, and why did you choose them as the title for your story?
Good question, Sue. I believe that women are grossly underestimated and have been for a very long time. You know, when you think it wasn't that long ago when women couldn't even vote, most women didn't have a driver's license, and women were supposed to cook and clean and put up with whatever crap got dished out to them. So, you know, we definitely should not be underestimated. That's why I chose that title. We're very capable.
And so what does that speak to in your own life?
The amazing experiences that I've had. Yeah, that I have pushed myself to the limit in so many directions, and I've achieved so much because I don't allow myself to be underestimated.
Okay. And I really, that, and as you're talking, listeners can't see your face, but you really lit up as you answered that question. And because I think the thing that's really inspiring about your story is you have had some really dark times and a tough start in life and other dark times, but you've also worked yourself into a position of having an incredible life. And I wonder, with the perspective of time and wisdom, and that came from writing your story as well, what you've learnt about yourself.
I initially started writing as a form of therapy through personal development. I learned that it was great therapy, and it certainly was. There was so many things that I'd suppressed that I didn't even realize. I made the time. I'm one of those weird people that get up before the chickens in the morning, and it's usually in the dark.
I think that's only a reference that farmers would really appreciate. I've got no idea what chickens get up, but I suspect it's really early.
Break of daylight. Yeah, as soon as it's daylight, the rooster starts crowing. Well, not daylight. When they can see the slight break of daylight, the rooster will start crowing. So, I get up before then. I like to get up in the dark. That's when I like to come out and do my thing. It's always been my time. I love my early mornings. So I was like, well, I'm going to fit this writing in, not thinking I was ever going to write a book. It literally was for therapy. And as I started to work through, the memories, and the memories were flowing back to me, I cried a lot. I lost a lot of tears. There was a lot of things I didn't write about because it's not my story to share. My other siblings, if they choose to write, they can write their journeys. But I certainly wrote enough. Yeah. And it helped me so much. Yeah, just a wonderful form of therapy. And as I went, you know what? A shrink that I went to years ago had said, you should write a book. Your story is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
I imagine that writing your life story was a really huge undertaking, both emotionally and practically. You've got a busy life. How did you incorporate the writing process into your daily life?
With those early mornings, that was how I could make it work, was fitting it in the early mornings.
And how were you able to go back to some of these very emotional memories?
Yeah, it was tough because even when I had to reread over it, because I didn't know how to. As I said, I taught myself to read properly, and I didn't know how to write a book. And that's what holds people up. I thought, I'm not going to allow, once I made up my mind that was what I was going to do, then I wasn't going to allow that to hold me back. And I went, I'm just going to go with what I think I want it to look like. So, and I just wrote whatever came to mind. So I had to reread over those ugly parts again and again and again to work out what chapter they should go in. And that was really tough. But as we're exposed to things more and more, we accept them and we can move on. It's a good therapy on its own.
Yeah.
Exposure therapy, I think it's called. I believe it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Writing your story is one thing, particularly from capturing your memories and processing them for yourself. But then to publish that is quite something else. What gave you the courage to publish your story?
I just felt the need to help other women, to help and inspire others. And not just women, there's men. There's a guy that, with my first book, I mentioned him. He was one of our main shearers in the shearing teams. And I actually sent him a copy because I mentioned him in there. And he goes, messaged me back and just said, after he'd read it, and said, thanks. He used to call me H. Thanks, H, for giving me the kick up the bum that I needed. Yeah. So, I was like, wow, it's inspiring men as well. So I love that.
Mm.
To answer the question, what gave me the courage? I think because I told myself I'm going to do it. I don't like to let myself down. If I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'll stick to my guns and I'll do it, no matter what it takes.
It's so clear that that's been a really strong streak in your life of that kind of resilience and drive and pushing forward regardless of the challenges that come your way. So that answer doesn't surprise me, Heather. I'm really interested in what the most liberating part of sharing your story publicly was.
I believe because the ex-husband, and I know a lot of the women I've coached and assisted since, they get the same types of things told to them, told me that I was mad and I was crazy, and then put nasty rumours around the local town to say that I was crazy as well. So I went, well, that felt really good, that I don't think a crazy woman would be able to write a book and get it published. This crazy woman can, but I don't know. It's common.
I was really struck by even how writing your books has contributed to you changing your story going forward from, that difficult background and farmer to businesswoman to writer to retreat founder, and being recognised internationally as a global woman of influence is a really long way from that beginning that you described. What's that been like for you?
It's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey, and it's not what I expected, not at all. I understood that getting your books out there, you've really got to do a lot of marketing yourself, even though I'm an Amazon #1 bestseller with all 4 now, because I co-author in another book called She Speaks. There's 15 of us in that book, and it made it to Amazon #1 as well. Yeah, so I'm proud to say that, I've got that title of having those nice gold stamps on the front of each book. Although Amazon keep most of the proceeds, that's okay, because it's still getting my story out there. I don't earn very much from Amazon. It's not about earning the money. It's about getting the story out there to help and inspire others. That's what's important to me.
So you now host retreats at your beautiful property. What do women experience when they come and stay at your place, and what tools or support do you see that makes the biggest difference for them?
We've got a beautiful big community kitchen that we've set up here. And I see so far I'm continuing to build on that, but we've got comfortable seating for 50 people, and we've got 4 beautiful cabins here as well. So what it looks like, they arrive, they get greeted to the retreat and show them the cabins. The cabins are all named after my top 4 highest values. Nobody's a number when they come to stay here. So we've got peace, love, trust and growth, which I like to live by, and the community kitchen. It's not a camp kitchen, so community is really important to me, hence why I volunteer on the local radio station. I love to do community work.
So you're a master coach, and I imagine that in your retreats and in your coaching work that you have some tools that you use with women to help them in their journeys. Can you perhaps share something with a woman who's listening today who doesn't feel like she's enough, or she feels like it's too late?
Certainly, yeah. So some of the retreats are for middle-aged women, and I say middle-aged, anyone over 50. We're only middle. Most people live till they're 100, surely. So yeah, and I do teenage girl groups as well. And the tools that I like to bring is certainly taking them on a self-love journey, because we beat ourselves up with aging, and sadly women tend to look in the mirror, and we only if we haven't decided we hate ourselves so much we can't even look in the mirror, because I've certainly had women say that to me too, and I actually do mirror work with them too after I've taken them on some self-love journeys. And so it's getting them to close their eyes and to think back to a time when they were younger in their life, when they felt the most beautiful. Maybe they were dressed up for a party or a wedding or, some sort of function, their debut, something like that, and remember how they looked. And then I just take them on a journey through the years and how they felt as the years went by, looking back at old photos, because most people looking back at old photos say, gee, I looked good then. There's definitely a point in our life where we generally got somewhere that we felt that we looked good. But aging's not a crime. It's not illegal to get older. And I think it's certainly wise, and I'd encourage women, and I do. Got a photo of an Indian lady, an American Indian, and she's got masses of wrinkles all over her face. And I asked them to see what do they see when they look at her. And people will say lots of wrinkles. She looks like she's been out in the sun too long. You know, they'll always focus, or often, I don't say always, it's a generalization, but they'll often focus on the negative side of it. And I say, don't you see wisdom? Don't you see how much that woman would know? You know, you may have looked beautiful back in your day, but it was external. The internal comes with age. So I think we need to focus definitely more on that. What wisdom have we picked up along the way? Like, it might have been raising children and say, oh, I never got a career. So what? You learnt how to raise a family. You helped somebody else raise their family if you didn't your own. You know, you've had different types of jobs that you've managed to help keep the world going because you've gone to work. You've helped to support your mother or your father in age. You know, there's so many things that you've done that has brought wisdom to you. It's not about our physical appearance. It's about how we feel inside. We need to feel good within.
And it sounds like there's some reframing of the story they're telling themselves as well about their life, where you're bringing attention to their strengths and contributions from their lifetime as well.
We were travelling in Darwin a few years back with our kids, and we were staying with our camper trailer, and we were staying in the caravan park. And it went in a COVID lockdown. They hadn't had one up there anyway, so there was a huge caravan park. We'd all been intermingling, and one part of the caravan park is called the Burke Circle. A lot of people from out west here head up there, and they meet up there on a Thursday evening at the Burke Circle. So I asked the park owners, which are related to my partner, you know, if it would be okay if I run a women's circle, because we're all there and we're all been talking to each other. I said, well, safe distance, and, you know, we could do this, and I'm happy to run that, you know, just a free event. So did this type of work, did quite a few exercises with the ladies. One of the ladies, actually, because I got them all to talk about themselves and what they liked about themselves one at a time. And it was very difficult for them to speak up, you know, sitting in a circle on their chairs away from each other. And it was really tough for some of them. They'd never spoke up or never, ever said anything they liked about themselves ever. And one woman said, I can't stand looking in the mirror. I can't stand how I've aged and how I look. And after I finished that session, I was taking a walk, as we were allowed to do at that time. The next morning I was walking around the caravan park, and she jumped out of her van and goes, Heather, I've got to tell you something. And I said, what? And she says, I actually looked in the mirror this morning for the first time in I don't know how many years, and I loved what I saw. I said, I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased I could give you that gift, you know. And she said, I just saw my mum looking back at me, and I loved my mum. I never had a problem with her being the age she was. I said, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, I just love that story, Heather, and that's just testament to the difference that you're making in the world. It's so heartfelt and so real and genuine. So what's one key thing you hope women facing their own challenges take away from your story?
To stick to their guns, never give up.
Never give up, and don't allow yourself to be underestimated, I think, is your story as well. So as we come to the end of this time together, Heather, what's next for you?
Oh, that's a good question as well. I would like to do a book tour, so I'll certainly be looking into that. And I've put a bit of a proposal together. I'll be sort of focusing on that in the next few weeks. To speak to teenagers in schools, I'd like to start to get into the schools as well. I've really enjoyed the teenage retreats that I've run, and I really look forward to doing more of those. With the girls, I believe that the girls need to learn self-love at a young age. I know with the last girl group that I had here, when I asked them what was self-love, they thought it was taking a hot bath, kicking back in a nice bath, you know. I went, no, not quite. I didn't want to say, no, that's self-care. Not quite self-love. Yeah. So, you know, it's not something that is brought into the schools, and I believe it definitely needs to be, because if we love ourselves enough, and certainly starting at a young age, we're going to love and respect others as well. We need to love ourselves first anyway.
What else is changing for you at this stage of life?
Oh, I'm living the dream now. I finally am. You know, it's just I've completely turned my life around. The age is just a number. I don't allow. You know, I'm 56 now, and I really don't mind at all. It's just a number. It's how we feel internally, and I know that I've got plenty of go in me still. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to the years ahead. I don't find it daunting at all.
Finally, if you could change one thing about how society views women over 50, what would it be?
I would like society to view women over 50 as a mentor, to look up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to look to them for knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, and so acknowledging the accumulated wisdom in the same way that when you described women at your retreat looking at that wrinkled face, that's behind that sits lots of knowledge and life experience and wisdom.
Yes, yeah, and it's not getting passed on otherwise. It needs to be. We don't want what we've all learnt to be lost.
Yeah, and your wisdom is not being lost. You've generously shared it in your books. You generously share that through your retreats and your coaching, and no doubt you will continue to share that through your storytelling and sharing with school students as well. Heather, thank you so much for sharing your story with me today and for your hard-earned wisdom. Your courage and resilience just shine through everything you do, and your honesty will inspire many, many women, and as it does me. If there's one thing we can take away from your journey is it's never too late to reclaim your power, to rewrite your story and step boldly into your next chapter. Thank you for reminding us, Heather, never underestimate a woman, especially ourselves.
Thank you, Sue. My absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Flourish After 50. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow in your favourite podcast app. I offer coaching and facilitate small group programs for women just like you, and have a newsletter where I share the details of upcoming events. All the links are available in the show notes. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep flourishing.